ever looked at your spare room in your home and thought, you know what, I could make some extra cash with this? Or maybe you're just simply tired of carrying the full weight of your mortgage on your own and you could really use some extra income, right? Well, today we're diving into the topic of renting out a room in your home, the pros and cons, while you still live there. So I'm going to break down what works, what doesn't, and some of the things that you really need to consider before it's too late. So let's get to it. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Sue Richey. I'm the owner of a residential property management company, and we have people ask us this question a lot. Should I rent out my home? How do I do this? Can you manage it for me? Just the room. Well, we don't get into all of that, but we definitely give them some advice, and that's some of the advice I want to share with you. Okay, so first let's talk about 3 of the pros of renting out your home. Number 1, obviously the extra income. It's certainly the biggest reason that people do it, for the money. So you can definitely get some good prospects because depending on what kind of city you live in, and if it's somewhere like Washington, D.C., in my area, where things are really expensive, it can be a lot more economical for someone to rent a home in your property than renting out an entire property. So let's say you have, a room and it's $900 a month that you charge. That could be about 10 grand a year. That could certainly help with taxes, help paying your mortgage, give you some extra spending money, whatever you want it to be for. And it's just simply extra cash. But remember that rental income is taxable income. So you're going to need to report it. And there are deductible expenses related to the rental activity of that rented room, repairs, cleaning it, and things like that. But either way, you're going to need to report the rental income. Number 2 is that you want to maximize your space. So let's say you've got an unused guest room. Maybe it gets used twice a year, or a basement that's completely empty and all you do is store holiday decorations there. There's income opportunity just sitting there, right? And renting out that dead space in your home can turn your home into a moneymaker. Okay, and the 3rd pro of renting out a room is that you can share expenses and even some chores. In some cases, you might have an arrangement with a tenant or a roommate where you split utilities, services, streaming services, you share household expenses, minor repair and maintenance, and you share a common area or you share some cleaning expenses, things like that. But it might get weird if this is someone you don't know, and sharing the expenses certainly can help you with the cash flow, but sharing all that other stuff, it might get a little weird. So it kind of depends on who you're going to rent to. Okay, so now let's talk about some of the cons of renting out a room in your home. First, in my opinion, one of the biggest is that your privacy definitely takes a hit. Now, this is a biggie. You may be sharing your space, like the kitchen or laundry or even a bathroom, depending on your property. Even if you have a separate living suite in the basement, let's say for your tenant, or a separate entrance, someone's still there. So it's not totally private, right? It is your home, of course, but now it's going to not start to feel like just your home because someone is there. So that's something you have to consider. So if you're really an introvert and you really like your evenings quiet and you like lounging around in your robe or your PJs on the weekend, you're gonna have to adjust that because someone else is there now occupying some of the space. Okay, the 2nd con is that a roommate can create some people problems. Even if you have great tenants who pay their rent, they can have habits that drive you crazy, just like some family members, right? They can get loud phone calls, they can have friends over, and maybe they like to play their music really loud. And maybe they cook things that just don't agree with you. Whatever it is, they should be allowed to do it because they're paying you to rent the space, right? And just because they're living in the same space, it could get annoying. Also, when you're living with someone, it's very different than when you're just renting to someone. And now you're part landlord and part roommate. Okay, so con number 3 is that you become a landlord. Sort of. Now, that's not necessarily a problem if you wanted to be a landlord, but if you're just doing this to get a little extra money and you're not really considering yourself a landlord, well, you better think twice. And being a landlord means that you need to have a lease in place. You definitely want to do a background check a thorough background check on this applicant, because you're going to be living with this person or very close to this person. So don't skip that. And you're going to maybe be handling more repairs than if you just live there. You know, if you're in a house and there's some nagging thing, you can probably just overlook it and go, you know what, I'll fix that later. Chances are your tenant won't be that accepting of those things and will want things fixed. Okay, so those are some of the pros and cons, but I'll tell you a few things that you may really want to consider and things that you definitely want to do if you are going to rent out a room or some portion of your home. This is not something, again, that we get involved with because we have, had people asking us if we, about this subject and would we manage that space, and it's absolutely not something for us because it's just way too complicated for our services and we just don't want to get into that. But I think it's still a topic worth talking about because a lot of people do it wrong and you really want to do this right. So here are a few things that you want to consider and do. First, I would tell you absolutely screen your tenant. I just said this, but make sure you do that credit check. Make sure you verify their income and employment. Make sure you look for references from past landlords, check criminal history. Don't skip these steps and make sure you do it right. Next, you want to set up the house rules. Are there quiet hours? Are there guest policies? What are your cleaning expectations? Put all of that in writing in your lease. And that brings me to the lease. This is key, okay? Outline how everything is going to be, how all the bills are going to be split, what their responsibility is, what the move out expectations are. Anything that's important, make sure you put that in the lease. And when you are an owner occupant and you rent out a room, not all of the tenant landlord laws apply here. You are exempt from some of those things. So make sure that you read and you understand the rules of these exemptions in your jurisdiction, how you can advertise, what you can and cannot say. Look for those in your state, in your county, and make sure you do it right. I think what works best is, when you rent out an area of your home that's less disruptive to you. So if you have a space like a basement where there's a door where someone can enter and exit and it's not disruptive to you, you can, have a separate space upstairs where it's locked off. That sort of scenario works a lot better. It gets a little more complicated when you're sharing a kitchen and all of those spaces, but that's up to you. It doesn't matter. Just make sure that you abide by code laws within your county too, because if you set up a separate apartment type of situation in your basement, that's not necessarily gonna fly either. So check out what you can do and what you can't do. There's definitely a lot to think about. You definitely can make a little bit of money, but it's complicated, and you want to make sure that you keep yourself and your property safe first and foremost. No amount of money is worth having somebody in there that you don't want to be in there and then affecting your safety and privacy. So think about this carefully. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions at all, please drop them in the comments. I'll look for them and I'll try to get back to you. If you have any other topics you want to know about or you're interested in learning about, let me know and I will look to make a video about it. Thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe to our channel to get more information that I can share with you to help you manage your rental property. Thanks so much. See you next time.